Okay, what are we having for dinner tonight? Well, we're going to bake some potatoes in the oven. These are a combination of Yukon Gold, black potatoes, red potatoes, and you can see that the little starter potatoes. We're also going to make a wrap. What we're going to do is we're going to have a combination of garlic, a little bit of hummus, which is sambar roasted red pepper, these green leaves. Now these are from the beets. We'll be using those after we wash them. And these over here are from chard. Now we have red and white chard. This is going to be a totally different, unique vegan wrap. And what I'm going to make out of this is basically a vegan green wrap. Come and watch how I do this. This is an interesting way to be able to not only have a different dinner for the night, but you could even use this as an appetizer.
Welcome to Healthy Vegan Living!
Now we're going to have to wash all these leaves because they're straight from the garden and I can tell there's some debris on them. Once you start eating those processed foods, you may be vegan, but you're going to put weight on, which is what happened to me lately. So I'm back in the process of trying to eat my good foods again. You know what they say? Back to basics. So a lot of my food, this all came out of my garden and my chard is still producing. All right, why am I cutting this? Cutting these into ribbon. I'm going to be cutting these in the blender, so it won't really matter. But I don't usually put in the stems into the meal. I need to have a creamy substance to go inside the wrap. Now, there's no need to dry these so dry once you know the leaves are clean, because you're going to need a little bit of moisture to be able to use them in the blender. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to bring the blender parts over here and we're going to start putting them in the blender, and I'll show you how I do that. Alright, so the next step is just grab your salad and your onions. Now, if you had a Vitamix, this would be no trouble whatsoever, because those are such powerful blenders, they could easily accommodate all this. Now, watch. Just putting this in isn't going to work. This is half of a container of extra foam tofu. I always keep some around the house. What it's going to do is it's going to add that extra little bit to get it going. Plus, we have to put the hummus in. So that's 1/4 of a block of tofu. And this is the hummus. So we're going to put in half a cup. 1/4 cup, and then what you're going to need to do is you're going to have to, this has to go on the bottom. Alright, so then it also needs some liquid. So you can use fresh water, but what I'm going to do is use tofu water. Now the reason why I use, this is just basically fresh water that has soaked the tofu to keep it fresh. I'm going to pour half of it inside, roughly, you know, saving a little bit if I need more. That should give me to be able to grind this down now. Now it's going to take time to do this. Now I need to tell you that what you see here is not going to be the amount of time that I'm using the blender, is not going to be the actual time. Otherwise you'd be watching me pulse this for 15 minutes. That doesn't make sense. It's got a little hint of hummus, and you can taste. Definitely doesn't need any salt. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create the wraps. So the next thing you do is you take your wraps. I'm going to use Flat Out, the original flat bread. It's got 7 grams of protein, and each of them has 90 calories. So then what you do is you take your wraps out, separate them out like this. And what you're going to do is you're going to, using a brush like this, spread over in like this, just like you're painting a wall. But this time what you're doing is you're painting the wrap. Don't need much. You do this, and you're just going to loosely roll it. You're going to cook it this way. And we do the next one. Okay, so I'll be quiet and get these other wraps done, and I'll show you how I cut them and how I bake them. So they have a chance to dry. And then what will happen is these will dry into nice little circles with the tomato just blessing it. Well, it's better if it doesn't fall over. But you could see, you could make this very easily. You see I got 1, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, could have been 12, and then you have 24 more possibilities that you could do here. So we'll lay this on the stove top right now until the oven gets started. And then we'll clean up the mess that I have there. Okay, so why am I doing this? In order to be able to understand whether this works for a future party, the only thing I can do is I have to experiment. And it's best to experiment before you or not on the day of the party. A lot of times I've done the meals before and I show it to you. This time what I'm doing, I'm showing you the test now ahead of time. Oh, you also need to know that once you've made this sauce, it's good for 3, maybe 4 days, because you have to remember these are all raw, nothing's been cooked. So I'll know by tomorrow whether this sauce and this what I've done has worked, and then if it does, well, there's no problem there. Now you can use all kinds of things. You could use potatoes, but they have to be cooked. Today I'm going to show you how to cook these little potatoes. These are almost like starter potatoes that you use in your garden. What I'm going to do, pour the oil in the container, and then I'm going to just lightly coat them, okay? And then these will take about 20 minutes to cook in a regular oven. Now, you don't want them to blow up, so you're going to have to poke them with a fork. Here's a dessert fork, a salad fork, and just poke them once. They can go all the way through if you want, and this will prevent them from displaying across the oven. They won't blow apart. It doesn't have to go far, it just has to have a chance where when the skin starts to bubble, cooking the potato. Okay, now I'm going to put this in the oven. The oven is ready, and you can see me put both of them in. So here are the potatoes. They're going to go at the bottom of the second rack, and this is going to go on the top. I think the wraps are going to be done fairly quickly, so I'm going to set them for 15 minutes. As for the potatoes, I already know they're going to take 20 minutes. So I'm setting the timer for 15 minutes, and we'll be back and we'll see how everything turned out. So we have the wraps to test and the potatoes. Okay, it just came out of the oven right now. It's been in there for 15 minutes. The potatoes are still cooking. So let's see what these taste like. 15 minutes isn't long enough. The tortilla shell, though it tastes good with the green chard sauce, isn't cooked enough. So I'm going to cook it for another 15 minutes. What I'm aiming for is crispiness. Turn off the alarm. Turn off your stove. Let's test it again. Now, I have granite countertops. I can get away with this, but if you have Formica, don't do this. Make sure that you put a pad on the bottom to protect it. Now you see how this went right through a potato? These are ready. Now let's test these now. Well, they're really hot, but they should be. So always test out your recipes before you bring it to your party. Don't want to bring something that tastes horrible. Well, it's much better because now the shell is crispier and the chard sauce has permeated the shell. It's quite good. And now I know I can trust this recipe. They're not very pretty. I may have to come up with a different way of making them prettier than this, but they work. That's what I wanted to find out. So here's my dinner. So this is how it is. This is the wraps, the test wraps. This is a full wrap, and these are the potatoes. These are purple potatoes, Yukon Gold, red potato. So it's going to be a good meal, a good vegan meal. And then afterwards, we're going to eat like the French. We're going to eat the salad at the end. Thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.
If you like this channel, please subscribe. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Thank you for watching.